Hi, it's Nick Drew here. Well, I'm here today in the West Midlands and I've come to see something a bit different for us. It's this Scammell, the first 100-tonne lorry ever made. So, and I'm with the owner, Dean Hudson.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Dean, tell us about this machine.
Yeah, this lorry was first purchased by me. Well, it was purchased by my father in 1976. He bought it and restored it, and to keep it in the condition it's in today. Sadly, my father has passed away now, so obviously we're selling on behalf of my father. So that's why we're here today, yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously, you know, the Scammell name it's got a long history of trucks. I even remember loading Scammell trucks when I was machine operator. Yeah. So, yeah, they've been around a long time, haven't they? And obviously, this is testament to that.
It is quite an iconic brand. Everybody knows the Scammell for the military days, and anything to do with heavy haulage back in those days was Scammell. Yeah. This being the first one in its era for the 100-tonne capacity it could carry.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just wondering if this was ever used for towing around like big cranes and stuff in the day. Was it used for that heavy haulage on plant? It
was predominantly designed for heavy haulage, and obviously being the 100-tonne brand, being the first one. So it was originally built and designed for carrying trains by road. Whereas back in those days, the trains that were built were too big for the modern rails. Yeah. So they had to be transported by road there to the docks to be shipped for exporting from Liverpool, typically. It then went on to carry other loads, ships' rudders. It carried large girders. It carried vessels, tanks, water tanks, and other things like that. Anything to do with at the time, anything being manufactured. So this one being the first one to do that.
Right. Let's go and take a look at the power pack.
Okay.
Because I'm sure that's quite unique as well. So yeah, tell us, we got the Gardner engine. That's another famous old name, isn't it? Tell us about that. And I think you said there was an engine change.
Yeah, when it left the factory around 1929, it went into production with a Rolls-Royce petrol engine. After short use, they realised it still wasn't powerful enough and it wasn't economical enough for carrying the loads that it was carrying. So he then went back to the factory in the 1930s, where they retrofitted the Gardner engine that's fitted today. But to do that, they had to extend the chassis substantially to give it that extra space and the extra length they needed to do it.
Yeah. And what kind of horsepower is this rated?
I think it's about just over 100 brake horsepower.
100 brake horsepower. Yeah. So no stage 5 there, but
no.
plenty of poke, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's take a look at the cab here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the fact that it's original condition. You know, it's hand painted, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, in those days, spray painting wasn't such a popular thing. So no. it's to keep it to restoration. It was all hand painted, and even the decals that you would see normally, this was all done by hand as well, all freehand.
Fantastic job,
Fantastic,
isn't it? Yeah. Bit of a strange old affair this with the cogs and what can you tell us about that?
Okay, well you've got the engine at the front, the diesel engine. You've got the gearbox, and you've got a prop shaft, which then drives what we know as a drive axle. This drive axle is what then drives the axle transmission to the rear axle by 4 chains, 2 on this side, 2 on that side, and then you've just round here you've got 2 ratios for high and low ratio, depending on the torque and the speed at the time and the descent.
Amazing. Yeah.
This would be your foot brake that you operate from the cab, and also your hand brake that's from the cab as well. And
yeah, you were saying it takes 3 people to sort of run this thing, basically.
Typically 3 people. You'd have the main steersman, the main driver. That was his job to steer it, and then the other 2 men would be there just purely for the purpose of starting the truck and for the purpose of keeping the fuel in the tanks, which were transferred by these big tanks there.
Right.
Inside the cab, there's a hand priming pump, which would suck up the fuel from these reserve tanks into the main tank in the cab.
Wow.
And that was their job, to keep it running.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. Tell us about the lighting arrangements as well.
The lighting, as originally when it would have left the factory, it would have literal oil lamps. Electric lights wouldn't have been so popular back then. But as time progressed and the truck got a bit more modern, they then retrofitted with these electric lights that were powered by a dynamo off the engine.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So we'll have a wander around a bit further.
Yeah. In terms of the axle, you've got twin wheels either side, and they would have been on a floating arrangement.
Oh right, yeah.
For the camber of the road.
Yeah.
And this would have been the suspension,
Amazing.
Rubber block suspension. That would have been for towing heavy loads as well, or pushing or pulling.
Yeah.
Depending on the work it was doing.
Yeah.
It used to pull a trailer.
Yeah.
the trailer would have been jacked up, and then this would have reversed on the trailer, and then these fixing points would have held the trailer to the lorry to keep it secure.
So the trailer just dropped down on there.
The trailer just dropped onto this fixing point.
Yeah.
The trailer was called a carrier then, not a trailer.
Right.
And depending on the load size, determine whether it was a 1-axle trailer for 60 tonne rating, or a 2-axle trailer for 100 tonne loads.
So were those bolt heads there unscrewed, thing was dropped down, and then
sits
it was
on there,
screwed on again?
And that would be the wear place.
Yeah.
And then you got this was a wooden cab.
Yeah.
As time progressed, originally when it left the factory, it was an open cab, no windows. And as time progressed, the cab glass was fitted to it and made it for more comfort for the driver at the time.
Yeah. So let's take a look inside the cab there.
Okay.
And,
right. Okay, you can see there the wooden cab arrangement.
Yeah.
So what you've got there, I'm looking at now. This is the turn buckle, which would have been used for applying brake on the rearmost axle. This would have been operated by the driver, so as you come down the inclinement, it'd apply the brake gradually to give him some assistance. Then you've got the throttle, you've got your handbrake, you've got a brake pedal, which applied your brakes on the middle axle. The steering wheel, there was no power steering assistance whatsoever, it was sheer power by the driver.
Hardcore.
Hardcore driver, yeah.
Well, there we have it. Here's a chance for someone to own a real piece of British transport history, and it's fantastic. So you can make an offer on the Ritchie Brothers Marketplace website. It's going to be really interesting to see where it ends up, and we'll be following that with great interest. So stay tuned.